G'day Fixers, and welcome to the most special Fixit Fingers fiver that I have ever done, because today we're looking at 5 years of me and this wonderful workshop. Early October 2018, I released my first foray into the lovely sphere that is YouTube. And now 5 years on, like I do every year, we're going to do a quick wander around and a shop tour of primarily what changes have happened since the 4-year video last year. I'll put a link to see the previous ones, because the whole point of these videos is very selfish, really. It's self-indulgent for me, so that I can go back and see year upon year how I have grown as a woodworker, a hobbyist, and also my business, which continues to expand into new and wonderful things too. So I hope you do enjoy this little rambly chat. The first part of the video is going to be talking about the numbers side. So if you're interested in YouTube and the sort of content that I've been creating and how that's been performing, then stay tuned right now. If you just want to go straight into the shop tour, then I'll put a timestamp here and you can jump into where I start picking up the camera and giving you all seasickness wandering around. They're the two things I like to cover off every year, so let's get straight into it. Well, we will of course see this on the shop tour. Sign! This video is a couple of days later in October than it normally would be, because I wanted to have this project finished first and looking all schmick, because its whole purpose, apart from using up 5 years of offcuts and participating in a few really cool challenges, hashtag offcutsonly23, hashtag 5 years ago challenge. Thanks Mark, thanks Phil. Having this wall here is just my space now. This is going to be my professional backdrop for when I'm doing my tool reviews and other videos that mostly involve me chatting rather than me making something. Over the course of this year, I've done what I intended to do in delivering a variety of content, and while there are some big changes coming to the Fixit Fingers workshop next year, that mixture of content I don't really see changing. I am going to be looking at my computer from time to time because there's a lot of numbers and things, so I do apologize for that. But effectively, content-wise, I've got a few different categories, I suppose you'd call them, of videos that I like to mix up and not do too many of the same thing over and over. They reach slightly different audiences. There's, of course, you guys, my subscribers, who like to watch pretty much whatever I do and for whom I am very, very, very thankful. Cheers. But then there's also the stuff which helps me grow on YouTube. The tool review videos and the DIY handyman videos, for instance, may not be quite as interesting to my subscribers, and I do apologize when I'm giving you that sponsored content from time to time, but they really give me the reach on the YouTube algorithm, which then hopefully makes my more fun projects reach other people too. So let's take a quick look. Over this year, I've gotten 650-ish thousand views in the past 12 months, which is pretty nuts, really. That is ridiculous. I'm pushing 2 million views total. And, you know, when I started this 5 years ago, those sorts of numbers were never on my radar. And it is lovely. I consistently get, you know, about 1,000 views per video, would I consider normal-ish. And that's just amazing to think 1,000 people will sit down and spend 10, 15, sometimes 20 minutes listening to me rabbit on or watch me make something. I'm not going to say makes this work worth it, because I'd be doing it anyway. And that's the whole key to success. We're going to get onto that straight away. Is on YouTube, as long as you are having fun, you're winning. It doesn't really matter about the money. It doesn't matter about the views, but those things are nice. And part of this video is reflecting on those things. So to get those number of views, I got about 4,000 new subs. And again, that's just amazing. It's pretty much the same growth as I had last year. The significant milestone in there was we crossed 10,000. That was exciting. I will admit to sitting in front of my computer when the subs were slowly ticking over, and I did get a recording of that, and that was a good day. That just felt really nice to know that while I'm having fun doing what I'm doing, that other people are having fun watching what I'm doing, and that the content I'm creating is, well, good to watch, that people, you know, like it, at least some people, and that's enough for me. So let's take a breakdown of that content. There were 45 things that I upload, which is nearly uploading one a week, which for a part-time hobbyist I think is not too bad. A couple of those are cheeky little easy ones, but let's see the categories and how they performed. So first up, I had my tool-related content. Now, a lot of this stuff can be either sponsored or it's there to review tools that I've bought or been given to review, and I try to limit this content a bit. But let's face it, they usually perform the best because it's the stuff that people are searching for. Some things like my EcoFlow videos were being done because I was given a very expensive piece of kit in exchange for producing a certain amount of content on it. Would I have purchased one? Probably not. unless I was doing this full time, as I think I said in the review. But most of the things that I take on because I have a real genuine need, and they could just be something really small, it could be something slightly more expensive, or they could be a major turning point, such as the SawStop CTS. And it's probably no surprise to anyone who's watched any of my videos, I do a lot of stuff on the Kreg brand, not only because I am supported by them through Carbotech, but also because I still genuinely love their tools. Not all of them hit it out of the park. That little corner jig one that I got given, not the best. Look, it does its job, but you know, it's not one of their strongest things. But other pieces of content, like anything I do about the AccuCut, it just seems to be a very controversial tool for some reason, even more so than the pocket hole stuff. That content does tend to take off. In fact, 2 of my top 5 best videos was a rant that I had on the AccuCut because Vic from Down Under sent me a link of another YouTuber who I'm sure was just doing it as clickbait. But he basically did a video on why the AccuCut was the worst thing that he's ever used, which is hyperbole to say the least. I was literally using it on a massive project and was able to very quickly demonstrate why, with care, it's a really, really good value tool that does what it's meant to do very well. And that video got 10,000 views in one day. I have never done that, and I will probably not do it again anytime soon. And it was literally one of my best and continues to come up. And of course, I clickbaited the McCrap out of it by having a big picture of me going, "Worst tool ever?" ? And sadly, all the experiments I've done with clickbait this year, it works. It's called clickbait for a reason, and I justify it to myself in that if I'm providing quality content and using that clickbait to get people to show, well, it's actually not as bad as what some people pretend to make it out to be, then I am doing a community service as well as helping myself because those videos generate the most income via search. While we're on the top 5, my deck gate video. So the one that I built for my brother, he's actually sold that house now, but the deck gate still exists and that video continues to do very well. It's not quite overtaken the wardrobe, which was the second best video, and it's showing a bit of a pattern there. Projects that are made for the DIY purpose. People who are not woodworkers want to build gates for their verandas and decks and things. They want to update their wardrobe to replace a hinged door with a sliding door. And these projects are not really beyond a beginner woodworker. And I think that's why they are particularly successful, not because they're brilliantly edited or anything like that. They're practical. The workshop projects are fun. We all love our workshop projects, but that content is only going to appeal to someone who has a workshop and is deeply passionate about woodworky stuff. And hence, none of my real workshop projects have come up in my most viewed video, even though off the bat they do the best because my subscribers tend to be most interested in workshop projects. So we had Deckgate, the wardrobe, Hardwood Talk. We'll get onto that, Phil, in just a second. AccuCut versus the Kreg Straight Edge Guide, so a real tool video. That was a viewer suggestion, actually, so thank you. I forget who suggested that, but that's been a really, really good little video for me. And the worst tool AccuCut video. They were the best ones. On top of that, we did some more Kreg stuff on the K5 versus the 720. I did some stuff completely unpaid for my mate Scotty at Scott's Custom Grit, and Carbotech related things and TimberCon related things. I did do a couple of videos for TimberCon. One of them was paid in the armor tool, the little mini jig, and a few of them are unpaid because I started my foray into hand tools, as we'll see later on this year, and I am in love with the Melbourne Tool Company things. I just think for me, they are pitched at exactly the right level, very much like the Kreg brand. They're not cheap, and that's good because they're quality. I could have gotten the really cheap and nasty stuff, but I probably would have then either regretted or sworn at trying to learn hand tools. I'm not going to get the Veritas stuff, even though I could get a really good deal on it through Carbotech, because I'm not a hand tool guy. I don't need the best Canadian sort of awesome accuracy. I'm not that good. I'm never intending to be that good at needing the precision that you're paying for at the top end of the market. So the MTC stuff is just right there. It's in the middle price range. It's in the middle quality. For me, at least, you know, it's been great. Entertainment in learning how to use these things. So while I may be working on a really good partnership with Carbotech, I do like the Melbourne Tool Company stuff, and Carbotech don't really have something competing in that price tag, so we'll let that one slide, shall we? And then I've got some other practical things, the EcoFlow and my pressure washer, the Handyman. When I buy a new tool, there's a very good chance that it's going to end up as a video at some stage because that is useful content to people. In terms of the handyman-y stuff, the business has continued to grow. If my content has slowed down at all, it's because I've been doing more paid gigs. And there have been a few pieces of content, the teak bench restoration, painting some steps, and there'll be some gardening stuff coming up. As I'm just taking over the gardening for my strata building, where I'm already the building manager, we had to get rid of the gardener recently. We got a beautiful new lawn, and I simply could not give anyone money to come mow it or maintain the gardens. There's just a desperate shortage of staff, so I'm doing it. I charge less than the last guy did, so that's a win for the building, and I think I'll do a much better bloody job. At least I won't kill the new lawn. And therefore, we've got the ego, good kit, be doing some videos on that, and they're the non-sponsored videos, it's stuff that I've bought, but I'm looking forward to getting my hands dirty, physically and literally, in that space a bit more later on. Those videos tend to perform really well. Oh, and then of course we had some fun doing skirting boards really badly. Sorry sis, they did turn out alright, with help from Uncle Knackers. Accidentally almost in that DIY space, one of my best performing videos recently, next year I think you're going to find it kicking off even further if I have to do a prediction, started off very slow. It was a Fixit Fingers fiver on using melamine. I've been starting to use melamine a lot since becoming a handyman DIYer, funnily enough, it's everywhere. And I shared 5 of my tips that I've got to know while using that particular product. It's got some foibles, and because it's practical, because a lot of people use it, it's now taking off. It's my best Fixit Fingers fiver by a long way, and it's going to continue, I hope, to grow over time too. They're the sorts of evergreen content that you really aim for as a YouTuber, but can very rarely plan for. I didn't expect that video to do anywhere near as well as it has done. I had 9 of my member vlogs, so nearly every month I sit here with my phone just up in front of my face and I record a vlog video for my paid channel members. And a massive shout out to everyone who has been a member or is continuing to be a member. Just like other guys, if you drop off at any time for financial reasons, look, that's absolutely no problem. I'm going to keep your name on the list, because if you have, for whatever reason, chosen to financially support me and the couple of pieces of content that I put out a month to help me grow this workshop without touching the family budget, then I am forever in your debt, and therefore your name shall forever be attached to the videos. There are some fun things that I do with, the pop-ups of the tools that are sponsored by some of the higher members, and please do not let me stop you from supporting me. I have had to learn not to be humble in this space. It is a bit of a strange feeling getting people who I know and people who I consider friends giving me money every month to basically spend on my business hobby thing, whatever you want to call this. And often at times I've thought of just pulling the pin like Dainer did recently, where he just thought he wasn't delivering value to his members. I'm not doing that yet, although I am considering it, because if people want to support me, then why should I say no to that support? It's disingenuous to say that money isn't part of the reason that I'm doing this and that the money helps the workshop go around. So thank you very, very much. If you do wish to jump on, then there are, of course, the links below. You do get access to the member vlog, which is very much like this video, me just talking about what's going on in the backgrounds and behind. Massive thank you to all of my current members. It's just a little thing that puts a smile on my face, and as long as that action makes you happy, then thank you very much for that continued support. I knocked out 11 shorts over the year. Again, not something I really focus on, but if I'm doing something in the workshop and it is genuinely a good little tip, I also use it for the small tools that Carbotech send me. It's a nice way just to, support them for supporting me. And some of those videos do really well. And then pay 23 cents. There is absolutely no financial gain in doing them. The people who join as subscribers from shorts, I don't believe probably convert into long form viewers very often. But they are fun, they're easy to knock out, and I'm not going to flood the market with them, but if I get a genuine nice little tip that is going to be helpful to someone, then I'll turn it into a short every now and then, but definitely not a focus of me or this channel going forwards. Alright, wood, glue and screw time. The real reason why we are here is project videos. Ultimately, if you're just doing tool reviews and stuff, you're a tool channel, and that's not what I am. I am a maker, and I make stuff from time to time. Obviously, these videos take the most amount of time, not just in the planning, the making, the filming, but also the editing. And they tend not to be the most profitable. They're the ones that are my passion projects that I am doing because that is my hobby. My hobby ultimately is making stuff. Everything else is just revolving around that theme. And a lot of it has been for the workshop, but a lot of them have been gifts too. I made the frame for my parents, which, while it was my first picture frame ever, it's also one of the most special projects that I've ever made, because we sold the house. The house is actually slated for demolition now. It's been sold to someone. They're going to knock it down, completely rebuild. And bits of that house, old bits of the veranda, I turned into a frame that my siblings and I got made for a watercolor that we had a professional artist do of that house and gave that to my parents. There were tears at Christmas. It was just one of my most satisfying projects that I've made, and I'm so glad I did it. I've actually got a tiny piece of the frame. Where is it? Can't see it now. There it is. I don't know if you guys can see that on the wall. So this wall here is full of memories like that, and that's one that's always going to bring a smile and pleasure to me when I get to see it. The Lego shelf. I made that again for a Christmas project for a friend. I've actually had requests from other people to build them. Not going to do that. Cost prohibitive. Took a really long time, but the Lego head shelf was great fun. I had an absolute awesome time and learned some kerf bending too. That's a theme. Whenever I'm doing something, I'll usually try to find a new thing to do and advance myself as a woodworker, slowly though it may be. I built the temporary little cart for my saw stop. The plan always has been to make a real workbench for that, like a big sort of mobile one with extra support. That will hopefully happen in the next 12 months, but tell you what, for a knock together quick project, that has been very, very, very useful to be able to have the table saw move in and out and still get the car parked in here. I made a couple of storage units for my new MTC hand tools, the planes and the spoke shaves. Again, I like things to look nice. I try to keep the place clean, and they're beautiful tools. I would like them on display, so that's what they were made for. I did some work for my old boss, making / fixing / creating new educational displays for the science workshop that I used to teach once upon a time as it travelled around the world. And that was financially probably one of the best things that I did. There was a lot of man hours in that to get it over the line by the deadline. And so what wasn't the most interesting woodworking per se, it's very practical, it did pay a few bills and brought in some money. And I really like having that balance between doing stuff that is completely for me and self-indulgent and having jobs which may not be as interesting, but bring in the cassiola. And that's a good balance that I'm going to try to continue to maintain. Because there were some projects, such as my dice tower, which really should have been in last year's video almost, because I started it so long ago, and it's just joyful. It just brings me joy. I'm a big D&D nerd outside of this workshop gig, and having those dice towers challenged me as a woodworker. It took me a very long time to get through them, and they just were the most fun thing that I built over the course of the year. And also, you know, they're a bit nicer than most of the things. They're very chonky in design, but, you know, considering they were all made out of offcuts, they came out spectacularly. And yeah, they're just making stuff for yourself gives you a very different kind of happiness than making stuff for other people, like my frames and my gifts. You don't tend to do it very often, so when you do, I think you have to really take something away from that and look at it and go, yep, that is cool. I'm glad that I spent the time on it. Second to last, we of course had the pallet wood wall. All of my offcuts from the past 5 years. Mario from the Woodfather, make sure you go check him out. Have to shout him out a lot for doing all the CNC work. If I had to make this by hand, it would not look anywhere near as good. The LEDs, you can just see them, but that's not really the point. Having this beautiful big color logo, the workshop blue, the fixer fingers red, and just, the CNC work, it looks so awesome. It just makes me smile. Every time I drive the car in or back the car in, I can now see this in the rear view mirror. And when I'm filming videos like this, it's hopefully going to be a really recognizable, yep, that's a James video. Look at the giant stupid offcut wall behind him. And last but not least, we hinted at it before.
The man who makes fake pallets.
Honestly, that was just a serendipitous piece of timing where Mark was doing the pallet challenge and there was a lot of pallety love going on. And I had some very, very expensive wood, which I needed for a project to restore those teak benches. And I got the silly idea of making fake pallets. A lot of the pallet wood furniture guys will know that people like to accuse, for God knows what reason, the use of fake pallets. And I thought that would be a very hilarious little joke to make an artisanal fake pallet. And that video did quite well. And then I enlisted the help of Philip Douglas Shinbine, otherwise known as Gradually Wizardly, and his marvellous, marvellous ginger beard. And Phil just went above and beyond on his side of the edit and his lovely blue suit and other things that he just made that video 10 times better, 20 times better than I possibly could have had even imagined. And the video did much better than I possibly could have imagined. The vast majority of people got the joke. I was not having a dig at Mark, Morley and Jesper. In fact, all three of them were in on it. It was just a really good excuse to poke fun at the certain YouTube keyboard warrior who probably never actually does any woodworking, but likes to tell people you can't make nice stuff out of pallets, when not just those three guys, but dozens, if not hundreds of makers around the world have shown that is simply not the case. And yes, there might be a volume 2 of Hardwood Talk in the future. It probably won't be quite as topically relevant, but I've got a funny idea which may come out sometime soon. Keep your eye out for that one, and thank you again to Mr. Phil. So overall, I am bloody chuffed. The channel has done well, the workshop has progressed, the business has progressed. I am just super duper happy. Let's pick up the camera now and go for a wander around with one last little slice of news and caveat. The workshop will change. I've got a lot of big plans of things that are going to go into this workshop next year, but there's a very good reason why that will probably happen at a slower rate. In a couple of weeks' time now, I'm going to be a dad. First time. And very, very, very excited. So there's probably going to be a lot of child-related content too, but anyone who has had children has warned me it's going to be difficult to get into the workshop over the next 6 to 12 months, and that's fine. Obviously, my priorities are going to be changing, so I do apologise. If you are absolutely on the edge of your seat for Fixit Fingers content every week, it's simply not going to happen, but I am not going anywhere. I do not intend to really change how I go about doing things. It'll simply be that the amount of time I have to do them is going to be extremely limited, and therefore the number of projects and the type of content that I get out might be slightly different. It'll be simpler things and things that I can do in between nap time. Still waiting for that book, Phil, The Naptime Woodworker. I think it's going to be a great resource to many, many of us. All right, guys, let's pick up the camera and do a quick whip around of the workshop. As this is a YouTube video, let's start with the YouTube kit. Apologies, I am now on my phone, so the audio quality won't be as good. I still film exactly the same as I did last year. I think, did I get this year? That might be an improvement. One of the things I've done from a technical point of view is I've started using Audacity to do some audio editing in an attempt to make my audio a little bit better, but being in a very brick garage, I get a lot of reverb, as you can hear now. So I'm never going to have perfect audio, but I think it has at least gotten better. So my setup is the same as last year. I do a little filming on the phone, but mostly I'm using my Lumix, what have we got here? FZ300, I believe it is called. It's a mirrorless single lens camera, and it does a good job. A little bit struggle with high contrast, but you know, I don't need professional audio and video editing. I just need it to look good enough, and I think most of the time it does. I have a single little spotlight here, and I've also got another permanent spotlight up here, which I've now got pointed towards there, and a couple of tripods to move things around on. I've got a mount for the phone when I want to use it on a tripod, and I've got my little dusties. Not that I ever really need the dead cats because I don't do that much outside filming. Most of my audio is recorded with this mounted on top of the camera there, so it's really good, this little Rode shotgun mic for the tool sounds. And if I'm just doing a very quick piece to camera, I'll make sure I speak clearly into that, but it's not as good for the audio as this wireless one. So I just had that on recording the first half of this video, and it does a pretty good job once you've got it set up for wireless connection back through that little module on top of the camera there. So that's the audiovisual side of things. I'd like a nice boom arm and stuff eventually, but you know, it'll have to wait. My much reduced pile of offcuts. I've kept this. I reckon that, which came from Mario for my letters for my sign, will be very handy. And I've kept very little. That's it. That is all of the offcuts that did not make it onto the wall. The rest of them got scrapped. From a tool point of view, we'll talk about MTC in a minute. I don't know if I added too much. Oh, I did. This was actually a fantastic addition. I don't have a compressor, and that's just a little powered 18-volt blower, and I use it all the time, particularly in conjunction with the table saw, just to blow things off, and the miter saw, get rid of your sawdust. Handyman jobs, it has been super, super useful. Otherwise, it came with this little shop vac, again, for my handyman business more than anything else, for cleaning up after myself. But I do find that I use it in the workshop as well, as opposed to rolling out the bigger corded thing. I just love cordless tools. I'm not sure if that was this year or last year, but I believe that is the newest tool other than the blower, was the rotary EXHDS hammer drill. Even if it was last year, so I did videos on it. It deserves another shout out. It's been a very good arsenal. Again, more for the handyman-y stuff. Like a lot of the things I'm buying are because I have jobs that require them. I still am loving this cabinet. It's held up really well. There's the original Fixit Fingers shop sign. And Team Teal, still for me. While I don't think Makita is necessarily better than DeWalt or Milwaukee or any of the other ones, when you're on the platform and you like them and they've never given you any trouble, that drill is now 5 years old. It did start with a drill. And while she's looking like she's done 5 years of work, it has never missed a beat. Maybe time for a new chuck soon, as it doesn't like very small drill bits anymore. Can't quite hold on to them as tightly as it used to. But otherwise, this part of the workshop is the development stage. Normally, the CTS lives underneath this bench. So that bench is against the wall and the CTS is underneath it. Eventually, I'll build a proper bench for the CTS to fill up that space even better. Let's talk about the table saw. I got it, November last year. It's just not quite a year yet, so this is definitely a new acquisition. It was the biggest brand deal that I've done, basically. I worked with Carbotech to not have to pay cash for this. We exchanged content and other things, and it has been game-changing, literally, as I knew it would be, but I still managed to resist 4 years of not having the table saw. You know, my Kreg Rip Cut and AccuCut, they still get quite a good run from time to time for breaking down sheet goods, but you can't hide the fact that some things, such as cutting and ripping and resawing all of those offcuts, would have been an absolute nightmare, if not impossible, without a table saw. And I'm glad I waited. I've made the right choice. I'm not tripped the brake. Hopefully I never will. But if I ever do, it is a saw stop. It will stop these from needing to be fixited. And it's done everything I've asked it for. I've been sensible. I'm slowly gaining confidence with it. And it's just a great saw, and it's not that much more than the little DeWalt, which is, its main competitor. And, every day of the week, I would take this over a non-safety saw for the couple of extra $100 that it costs. Power, fantastic, no problem. Dust extraction, that's my problem. It will go up here. That's the next workshop video. I've had the dust extractor. I bought the dust extractor at the same time that I was doing the deal for this saw, with the plan of hooking it up, and it just never happened. So that's going to be some early content next year, is finally sorting that out so that I'm not just blowing it into the wind. Over here, not a massive change of things. Still loving my miter saw, not getting the miter saw station gone. Sorry, Mark. This box is now full of bed slats. It was full of random crap previously. This was a nice little tool. The armor tool. So I said, usually, of course, I am a Team Blue Kreg guy, so it was quite hilarious when TimberCon reached out to me and said, hey, would you like to review this? And I gave them my conditions, telling them it would be a kind of funny look from a Kreg brand ambassador to do an armor tool review, but we both had a lot of fun, and the video did quite well, and it is a nifty little tool. I didn't have the small Kreg version of this. I think I do now, but, that's a nice little piece of kit. I do like it. It comes in handy from time to time. Otherwise, here, my drawers, I still love these. I've still not filled them all, although I have started to fill some others. And that video is now kicking on. It's actually doing relatively well. I was gifted/bought a few different Kreg things. This is the corner radius jig, which I'm not super happy with. Not Kreg's best effort in terms of stuff. It's useful. I will get it out from time to time if I have something to do. But yeah, there are possibly better solutions on the market for the same problem. The Rockler, the aluminium ones, like the fused aluminium, extruded aluminium, that's what they're called. I think they're probably better than these plastic ones. They just don't quite have the accuracy that the aluminium ones have. These little painter's blocks, they're quite handy. They're something I bought from the Kreg shop. And these, I love these guys. So I finally got tempted with the MTC launch of the number 5 jack plane and the little block plane. And anyone, even a power tool woodworker, you should have a block plane. And it's a very nice little one. It's easy enough to keep sharpened. I've got all my sharpening kit here. I did a couple of videos on that as well. They might even been last year's. I think I got the first start. These were newer, the spoke shaves. And I had a bit of fun, making this stuff up. And that's it. It's fun. We are here for fun. Yes, I'm running a business as well, but my woodworking side of things is mostly for my mental health and enjoyment. And hand tools are enjoyable and they're quiet, and I can do a whole lot of different things with them that I couldn't do with power tools. So I'm going to continue, I think, to collect MTC. They've got a nice new router plane coming out, which I am very interested in. This was a new addition too. So usually I will have my garage door open, but when it's noisy or hot or wet and windy outside, I'll close it, and I get very worried about the air quality in here. I'm obviously a fan of my PPE. Speaking of which, we'll pull that out too. But what this tells me is this 2.5 number here. When it's low, I don't need to wear a mask. When it's up, after I've been sanding or cutting a lot and I've got the door closed, I do need to wear a mask. So it's not enough to wear your mask while you're doing the cut. The dust can hang around in the air for a significant period of time, particularly if you're doing MDF or a whole lot of ripping and stuff on the table saw. So having that little monitor there has been a useful tool as well. Speaking of PPE, these have been a great buy. These are by an Australian company called IMUS, George, and they are just great. They've got the nice sort of rubber seal around there, so when I'm mowing the lawn and stuff particularly, it's really good. They're Bluetooth, so I can listen to my podcasts and music and things when I'm in the workshop. They come in this lovely little case, but mostly I just hated having safety glasses arms going underneath the ear pads here and creating a gap, and just it wasn't great. So IMUS, Australian company, paid with my own money, so that's not a sponsored shout out. They are just a really cool product. And then we get to this side. Honestly, that's pretty much it. I haven't acquired too much this year. Outside of the saw stop was the really big exception. I love my new space. This took a lot of work, honestly, to get it up and running, but it looks really nice and professional. Oh, that was something new I did. New sticker wall. Send me your stickers if you haven't already. We can do some exchanging. Mounted the Kreg straight edge guide on that side as well. I've got heaps and heaps of storage on this workbench. The plans for this workbench continue to sell quite well. I literally sold another one this morning, and it's just so much storage for such a small amount of footprint that I can get on there, and I really do still revolve the workshop around that workbench, and now, of course, the table saw as well. And we finish up with the secret shame of my wood storage. It used to go over there, and I have got rid of a lot of scrap, which means I can now focus on my beautiful collection of bed slats and the other sheet goods and bits and pieces too. But it is just so much nicer and cleaner that is my only real pile of, chew-uppable off-cutty bits. Everything in here is pretty much usable and ready to go. Dust extractor. Next project, going right there. And because I'm too lazy to set up the camera again to do the sign-off, we'll do it from the mobile phone. Thank you one final time for everyone who's continued to support and follow me on this wonderful woodworking journey that a lot of us choose to undertake as our hobby and our fun. It's not going to change, really. I intend to do exactly what I have been doing, just hopefully a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, a little bit neater, a little bit more skillful every month. That's the ultimate goal. Get out in your workshops, make something, have fun, and I'll see you on the next one.